What is up, you guys? This is Paladin Day 1 on the PS4, and I'm going to be giving you a video for the Paladin on a rotation guide, or whatever you would like to call it. I'm not necessarily going to be giving you a specific rotation. I'm just going to be giving you different combos that you can do, and then make your own rotation. So let's go ahead and get started with the abilities. So for the combo attacks, the Paladin has a lot of abilities and a lot of combos. And yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. Punishing blows, square square or XX on Xbox. Punishing blows attacks the enemy with a sword and inflicts 589,000 damage. The second attack in the basic combo. Seal of Light, which is squared triangle or X and Y, inflicts 773,000 damage to the target and all enemies in the line behind it on the holy ground or for 100 points of righteous anger. The area of effect is increased and damage dealt is increased by 2.86 million damage. Inflicts additional 150% of damage to monsters with more than 80% health. So it's really good as a starting ability whenever you go in and start fighting your enemies. Judicial Blow attacks the enemy with the sword and inflicts 1.39 million damage. Third attack in the basic combo. Punishing Bolt inflicts 1.01 million damage to the target on the holy ground or for 130 points of righteous anger. The attack is accompanied by lightning and damage is increased by 4.2 million. Activates impulse charge, third attack in the combo. Justice Blade attacks with the sword and inflicts 1.13 million damage. Throws common monsters in the air. Fourth attack in the combo attacks or activates impulse charge. Restores 70 points of righteous anger. Divine Scourge. The Paladin jumps in the air and inflicts 840,000 damage to all enemies in the landing spot on the holy ground or for 180 points of righteous anger. The area of effect is increased and the damage dealt is increased by 3.36 million. Damage is increased by 50% for each target beyond 2, up to 200% bonus for or when you hit 6 targets, so you can get up to 200% bonus damage. And then Waves of Wrath charging. Uses a sword to attack nearby enemies, inflicting 1.3 million damage and knocking them down. The weaker the enemy, the longer it stays down. So if the enemy has low health or somewhat low health, probably less than 50%, they stay on the ground for a much longer time if you hold this. Now, Seal of Light, Punishing Bolt, and Divine Scourge are going to be the 3 abilities that are going to be using your Righteous Anger. And your Righteous Anger is your resources. And then you have Justice Blade and Judicial Blow that's going to be giving you, well no, it's just Justice Blade that's going to be giving you Righteous Anger back. So after you've used any of those 3, Seal of Light, Punishing Bolt, or Divine Scourge, anything with the triangle pretty much, anytime you've used those, you're going to have to use Justice Blade so you can build back the Righteous Anger. So maybe use Seal of Light, then Punishing Bolt, then Justice Blade, and then Divine Scourge if there's a lot of enemies around you. Now for the abilities, you have Righteous Blow, triangle or square, then you got Waves of Wrath, which is triangle. Now you've got Celestial Shield. It creates a shield that absorbs damage equal to 17% of the Paladin's health. If the shield is destroyed within 10 seconds, it will explode and inflict 3.36 million damage to nearby enemies, stunning them for 1.5 seconds. 16-second cooldown. Verdict. Attacks the enemy from a distance, launching a chain lightning at them that strikes up to 3 more enemies, inflicting 5.04 million damage to each other, or to each. Activates Impulse Charge that hits the main target. Seal of Light, Punishing Bolt, Justice Blade, and Divine Scourge used on the holy ground, or if the Paladin has enough Righteous Anger, have a 20%, 35%, 40%, and 45% chance to apply Righteous Verdict to the Paladin for 15 seconds. Righteous verdict makes the next verdict free instant, and increases its damage by 100%. So normally you would just wait till this one procs. I never actually try to charge it up myself because it takes a bit of time to charge it up, and it uses quite a bit of your righteous anger. So I just wait until it procs, and it procs pretty often. Now you have Onslaught. Paladin rushes towards the enemy and attacks with their sword, inflicting 1.32 million damage and slowing the enemy down by 90% for 3 seconds, during which the slowing effect is gradually reduced. Inflicts 120% more damage for every 0.5 seconds spent charging towards the enemy or towards the target, but no more than 600% extra damage. Pulls all hostile monsters in a 12-yard radius towards them and prevents them from moving for 3 seconds. Forces the enemies to attack the paladin for 3 seconds as well. So it's a great way to pull aggro. Holy Ground. Creates Holy Ground around the paladin for 15 seconds. In this area, paladin's combo attacks do not consume righteous anger, and the paladin inflicts 30% more damage. So as soon as you proc Holy Ground, that's when you're going to start using Punishing Bolt, Seal of Light, and Divine Scourge. You're going to be spamming these as much as possible. But make sure you know which one you're using. Like Seal of Light is the one that's going to let you do a lot of damage to enemies that have more than 80% health. And then Punishing Bolt is just a good ability to have, to be using in just in general. It doesn't give you any buffs. Divine Scourge gives you a buff, but only when there's multiple enemies around you, or when there's 2 or more enemies, you get 200%. If it's just one, then it's 50%. Or it only does 50% more damage. It's not going to give you an increase. Now you got Radiant Aspect. It's a 3-minute cooldown, so keep that in mind. Removes all negative effects from the paladin and teleports them to the selected target. Inflicts 10.1 million damage to all nearby enemies and knocks them down. Makes the paladin immune to control effects for 15 seconds. Creates the area of holy ground next to the paladin. So if you don't have this up and ready, you can go ahead and use this. But like I said, you have to keep in mind that it is a 3-minute cooldown, not a 1 minute or anything less. Execution. Inflicts fatal damage. Available when the enemy has a small amount of health left. Restores righteous anger. So executing an enemy will obviously give you your righteous anger back. Now you got Prosecutor. All the paladin's attacks generate 400% more threat. All shields applied to the paladin absorb 100% more damage. Celestial Seal. Seal of Light, Punishing Bolt, and Divine Scourge used on the Holy Ground, or if the paladin has enough righteous anger, have a 24, 36, and 48% chance to apply the Celestial Seal effect to the paladin for 15 seconds, which increases the damage of the next Seal of Light on the Holy Ground or righteous anger, or for righteous anger, by 350%. So that's only going to really affect for this ability, Seal of Light, but it's still really good. And then you have Surge. Restores 40% of the paladin's health if it drops below 20%. Can only be used once every 3 minutes. In PvE adventures, the paladin's death resets the cooldown. So if you're dying as a paladin and your health drops below 40, you'll get 20% health back pretty much. And then if you die and then you come back to life, then you get that talent to proc again. So let's go ahead and look at the abilities. So I'm going to show you what R2 does. Normally this is what you would want to do before you start an encounter, is you would use R2. So I'm going to go ahead and do it to these small guys. They're probably going to die really fast, but regardless. So you're going to see you run and pull all those enemies in one spot. And normally when you do that, you want to use square triangle for Seal of Light. Oh, oops. Right there. That's what Seal of Light does, is it'll do like an X slash or whatever. And then you got square, square, triangle, which does like that Thor hammer smash, whatever. Spawns a nice lightning. It's a single target. And then you got square, 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 triangle, which does a nice AoE ability. And as you can see, I have my R1 to proc. It disappeared now, but anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and go to this boss. So you're gonna use R2 to go into counter, and you'll know when you have the aggro for the boss. It'll have a purple triangle, or the not the boss, but the enemy that you hit. It'll have a purple triangle on them. So I'm gonna run in on them. Oh, okay, there we go. And now he has a purple triangle on right there. That 3 seconds of that aggro. So that's when you know when you have aggro. So you would normally want to try to keep doing this as much as possible to keep all the enemies pulled to you, and also keep the aggro. And then also just remember you're going to use square, triangle if it's a group of enemies when you do that, or you can just do square, 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 triangle for that giant AoE. Now the thing you're gonna want to really keep going with the rotation is your shields. So your shields, you're gonna use circle first, and with circle, what that does is it's gonna give you a nice shield, and you have the timer on the bottom left corner. It's 8 seconds of a cooldown, of a duration. You would use that. So I'm gonna go ahead and use it again. You're gonna use this, and then you're gonna use the L2 circle shield as soon as your regular circle shield, as soon as the first one has like 4 seconds of cooldown left. So 4, and then you're gonna use this one, because this is only a 3 second or 4 second duration for that shield. As soon as that one ends, you're gonna go back and use this one, and you should be able to have that other shield up in time right there. And as you see, the duration is or the what is it, the cooldown, the rotation between those shields are pretty solid with each other, as long as you keep it within that time. So like I said, you have to make sure you have the first shield at about 4 seconds of cooldown left, and then you would activate L2 circle. And then once L2 circle ends, you would activate circle, and then wait till it's at 4 seconds and L2 circle. Just keep that going with each other. And now with the circle, what is it called? It's the Paladin's buff. I forgot exactly what it's called. Holy Ground. So with Holy Ground, what that does is, like I said before, you're not gonna have to use any resources for your combo attacks. But normally, what I normally do is when there's a bunch of enemies, I use Holy Ground, and then I use L2 Triangle. So that way, because all of your abilities are going to be buffed by 50%, so that was one reason why I wanted to do that. And then you still have this buff going on, so that's why you could still just keep spamming this until you run out of the Holy Ground. And when you run out of Holy Ground, you can use L2 R1 if you want, but I would normally use L2 R1 if I need an extra shield. Like if I'm really in danger and my shields are on cooldown, or it's just not strong enough, then like let's say I have to use that one as well, my rotations are off, and then I'm gonna have to use L2 R1 to kind of fix that. And now I have my shield for 12 seconds or 13 seconds. Oh no, I don't. It makes you immune while you're up in the sky. It doesn't give you a shield, but you do get Holy Ground, which is nice. But that's pretty much it with this Paladin rotation guide video. If this helped you out, go and leave a like, comment, subscribe. I know that it's a little confusing because there's a lot of combos, but the only thing you really have to remember the combos of is the Seal of Light and the other two. Seal of Light, Divine Scourge, and Punishing Bolt. You just have to know what they do, so that way you're not wasting too much time spamming an ability that you shouldn't be doing. So if the enemy has under 80% health, you don't have to use Seal of Light anymore. You would just use Punishing Bolt. And then if there's a bunch of enemies around you, then you would use Divine Scourge. and if you need it, you have to rotate. Make sure you rotate your shields around with each other with L2. I mean with L2 circle and L2 circle. So remember, you have to use it at 4 seconds of the cooldown left, and then use Ages of Light. And then once Ages of Light ends, you're gonna use Celestial Shield, and then when Verdict procs, that's when you're just gonna use Verdict. Then even if there's a little bit of enemies around you or no enemies around you, it still does extra damage, and it's a free ability. And then you're gonna also use Onslaught to keep aggro, and if you're also gonna use it in the very beginning of a fight, especially when there's a group of mods. And then you have Holy Ground. Like I said, you're gonna use Holy Ground, and then you're gonna use Waves of Holiness, so that way you can just do a lot of damage. And also Waves of Holiness, it'll take aggro as well, so this is a good one to use if you're trying to pull aggro. But that's it. Like I said, if this helps you out at all, go and leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you want to see more of these type of videos, go ahead and let me know down in the comment section. And yeah, that's pretty much it. This is All Day Any Day 1 on the PS4. Have a good day, good night, and peace.